I'm Larry O'Connor, alongside Brian Wilson.
You know, when you need sharp political analysis of what's going on in the state of Maryland, there's a guy you turn to. His name is Blair Lee. And guess what? He's on the line right now.
There you go.
To discuss Maryland politics and where things stand as we move closer and closer to these midterm elections. Blair, good to have you with us.
Hey, guys.
All right, I want to start off by talking about the thing we were just talking about with our audience, which is the governor and Montgomery County officials and officials around the state are saying, okay, we're willing to take in these illegal immigrant children who came to this country, and we're going to take care of them. We're going to house them while we wait on their court dates. Is that going to have any kind of impact at large on the Maryland election?
I think it will. I think this idea of the surge of the undocumented children coming across the border is a huge election issue. In fact, I think it's a defining issue. Really, it defines whether or not somebody is fit to govern, because if you believe that we can absorb 90,000 children into this country and then send a signal to the rest of the world that we will take your huddled masses, no questions asked, you really aren't fit to serve.
Now, that's fascinating because normally you would think that this is a federal election issue, but you're saying on the state level this is really going to make an impact. So, I mean, it suggests to me that you think that Larry Hogan should jump on this quickly.
Well, they already are. I mean, Hogan has now taken a position much like other Republicans and even the Obama folks who think that these kids are here illegally and need to be repatriated back to their homes. A few may be eligible for asylum, but basically they are here illegally. They are not victims of the child sex trafficking, which is what the law is supposed to protect. And most importantly, it's just not practical to send a message that if you cross the border, you get to stay in America. The division here is between people who want to think with their heart versus people who want to think with their head.
Yeah.
And if you're going to make policy for a nation or a state, you better think with your head, not with your heart.
But is it a big enough game changer
in
the state of Maryland for a Republican to win?
Well, if you're looking for competitive general elections, you're on the wrong side of the Potomac River.
Yeah, I understand.
I mean, Virginia's a two-party state. We are a one-party Democratic gulag here in Maryland. So Hogan has an uphill battle. Look, do the math. 55% of Maryland's voters are Democrats. That means a Republican running statewide, if he gets every independent, every Republican, every Green Party, every Libertarian voter, he still only has 45%.
But in an election, it also matters who turns out. And it would seem to me, I mean, I don't know, but it seems to me that in this election in particular, there's one side of the equation that's a lot more motivated to go to the polls than perhaps the other.
That's true nationwide, except for Maryland. I'll give you a good example.
All right.
2010 was the Tea Party rebellion. Okay, Obamacare had just passed. We had the economic crisis. We had the bank bailout. We had the stimulus, and voters across the nation were angry. The Republicans won 63 seats and took back Congress. They won 30-some governorships. It was a clean sweep across the nation, except in Maryland, where all the Democratic incumbents were handily reelected. Maryland is a pro-government state with a large African-American population. They vote 9-1 Democratic. We are an island of Democratic monopoly in a nation that is basically a two-party system.
Blair Lee is our guest, talking about the state of play in Maryland as we are looking at around 3 months now until Election Day. And, I did a quick search to see what Lieutenant Governor Anthony Brown had said about the immigration issue and the border children. I couldn't find it. For that matter, I haven't found him saying much about anything. He's really running an incredibly quiet campaign, is he?
Yeah, he's running a Rose Garden strategy, which is basically he's counting on the African-American vote to put him over the top. It worked in our June 24th primary, and basically what you have going on in Maryland is sort of a microcosm of 2008 when Obama won the presidency. Anthony Brown would be Maryland's first African-American governor. Now think about this for a second. Obama won with a surge of votes. African-Americans came out and voted for him, but African-Americans only make up 12 to 13% of the national population. In Maryland, African-Americans make up 30% of the population. They desperately want the first African-American governor, and that is going to help Anthony Brown on Election Day on November 4th. It helped him on primary election day, June 24th. That's his ace in the hole.
Not a whole lot about policy or ability to govern, just, and
that's why you don't hear much from Anthony Brown.
Yeah.
Basically, he would love to have the election be tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right, what about the Beretta thing? Beretta is closing down shop. They're going to move their whole thing over to Tennessee. They say that the gun laws in the state of Maryland just do not allow them to have...
taxes, regulations,
that's right.
The whole
that's a good thing, because having driven more guns out of the state, Baltimore's homicide rate will go down, right? Isn't that the way it works?
Yeah.
All right.
The less
ask Chicago that.
Yeah, the less guns we have, the less murders we have. Isn't that the way it works? I've been told that's the way it works.
Yeah. That's what one side would tell you.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, this is nuts. This is a legitimate business. 160 employees are going to be gone. This is basically Maryland's gun control laws are a symbolic gesture. They don't do anything. They are our way of frowning upon gun control and murder, and meanwhile we drive a business and jobs out of the state.
Well, and not only that, I mean, it had the unintended consequence of exactly the opposite of what they wanted. Because what they wanted is they wanted fewer guns in Maryland, and as soon as they passed the law, you got a whole lot more guns in Maryland.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people aren't stupid, and when they see gun ownership being limited, what do? They increase their ownership. The whole thing is nuts. It's a lot like what happened in Montgomery County about 20 years ago. Some poor soul was running a gun show at the fairgrounds in Montgomery County, been doing so for 10 years. And this was a legitimate, honest gun show. And in Maryland, we closed the so-called gun show loophole. So this was, according to the strictest gun control laws in America, this guy ran a gun show, and the county council drove him out of business, banned the gun shows, again, as a symbolic gesture.
Meanwhile, I mean, let's get back to the taxes. I mean, this is a year where, even the Democratic primary candidate, Doug Gansler, said that taxes are a problem in the state of Maryland, especially with things like the water tax, the rain tax, and the toilet tax, the chicken tax, all the taxes. Is Larry Hogan making a big enough deal about taxes? Is it making a dent? Is it resonating?
Here's the problem. And this is the dirty little secret about Maryland is this, Maryland politics. We are a pro-government state. Our economy is based on federal spending. We have a huge number of federal employees, state and county employees, and even our private sector is dependent upon federal spending. The people in Maryland believe in government, they believe in taxation, and they believe in government spending because it underpins our entire economy. We are different than the rest of the nation in that regard.
All right, Blair Lee, always good to have you.
Thanks, Blair.
Okay, guys.